Yes,
I
good
think,
plan.
which is the life and death of 9413, a Hollywood extra,
Hmm.
directed by Robert
Jean
Flory.
Valjean.
Directed by Robert Flory and Slavko Vorkapik.
Vorkapich, I think. Um, and yeah, Vorkapich is like, I think, pretty big in the avant-garde film world.
Yeah, I get the sense he is a filmmaker, but he's kind of more on the theoretical side of things,
Hmm.
whereas Flory is kind of the more meat and potatoes kind of director.
Hmm.
But they're both credited as director on this, and I think both have said in interviews later that oh no, this was a team effort. This is a what's referred to as an avant-garde short film, which
Hmm.
I agree with. I think
Yeah.
I think Manhattan was also called that, and I was like, oh, it's just a bunch of buildings. I don't know how avant-garde that is. Whereas this feels like it's really going some places and trying some stuff.
Yeah, this feels like a movie that, this feels like an avant-garde movie. This
Yeah.
feels like an experimental film that you'd see in college or at a museum or something like that.
Yeah. This feels ahead of its time, I think. It did make me think of movies I saw in college. If I had seen this in college, I would have been very impressed and I would have wanted to work with whoever had made it. I would have been like, this guy knows what's up.
I mean, this movie, I kind of think like, here's the thing. I was watching this movie and going like, "Ugh, this is so cliche." But then also, this is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and it might not have been cliche for at the time.
No, I think the reason why it reads as cliche now is because it kind of I don't know if it set a standard, but it's an early example of a lot of things that we associate now with avant-garde film.
But also, not even
Um,
that. I think I like the subject matter is what was bothering me, which
yeah.
I really have no reason for that because because I'm just like, oh, I've heard this like Hollywood will chew you up and spit you out thing before, you
Yeah.
know. Uh, but Hollywood was pretty new then.
Well, I mean, even that entire yeah, this movie is like a sort of dark satire of Hollywood, I guess,
Hmm.
which is already. I mean, we had movies about you know the film industry chewing people up back when the film industry was New Jersey.
Yes.
So it's this is not a new concept by any means. Um, and yeah, I think the subject matter is not the most interesting or radical thing about this. It's all about just the way in which it,
The
uh,
style.
yeah, the style, how it gets those ideas across visually. I think, there's no real traditional intro titles in this. It's all shadow puppet text.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of stuff that was
So cool.
like made like using either in-camera effects or funky lighting or cut out paper to make text and shapes and imagery appear on
Yeah,
screen in really interesting and unique ways.
a lot of shadows, a lot of miniatures, shadow puppet stuff, but with
Hmm.
lights that are kind of moving behind the screen. Once again, we're in the realm of how interesting is this just to describe visuals of something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like, all what it comes down to is that like, yeah, it's a guy who is trying to be an extra. It's like using this very kind of iconic archetypical storytelling to say like, this one's an extra, this one's a star. He has a star
Yeah,
on his forehead,
yeah,
and he's credited as just the symbol star, which is
yeah.
pretty fun, I think. And then the main character, 9413, has this also written on his head. All the extras are written on their head. So it's kind of getting into this kind of, way that people are turned into numbers and
Yeah.
exploited and all this kind of stuff.
Man, actors being exploited in Hollywood, that isn't topical at all to when we're recording this, even a little bit crazy. This is being recorded during the joint WGA and SAG-AFTRA strike, if you either didn't know or are listening to this at a later date. Yeah, there's a lot of the text on screen, which is in this sort of really cool expressionist shadow stencil cutout thing.
Hmm.
It's it'll just say dream success, no casting today, Hollywood. Um, it's very on the nose, but it's I don't know, it's kind of creating this like nightmare vision of Hollywood, I guess. I don't know, I dug it. I thought it was really cool.
No, yeah, I thought it was really cool too. I mean, I again, like it's a little cliche, it's a little on the nose, but if you put that stuff aside and it's like your first time kind of encountering the idea of Hollywood being an impersonal machine that makes people suffer and die, then and you haven't seen the movie Babylon, then yeah, I don't know. If you put all that aside, I think that what is going on in this movie, what the main thing the movie is, which is this kind of experimental visual splendor stuff, it's real cool.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of really neat imagery in this movie, and it's very short, so it's worth checking
Yeah.
out.
So I just watched this movie right before we recorded, and I was speed reading the Wikipedia page, and there was so many fun details in there that I think both give the movie context, but also just because this was a fairly low budget independent production, there are a lot of details in there that reminded me of what making low budget independent movies is like.
Hmm.
Like, this movie was shot at like people's houses. It was shot partially in Robert Florey's kitchen. The director of photography for this movie, Greg Tolland, went on to shoot Citizen Kane, little movie you may have heard of. And even though this was like a low budget movie, they had one light that was 400 watts that they used. They had two lights, but one of them broke. And all of the film they used, all the film stock was discarded ends from other productions that Robert Florey had to like tape together in the dark and then like spool back into the film can.
Wow, that's awesome.
And Robert Florey was born in Paris and started his sort of film career as an assistant to Louis Fayard, a guy we've talked about
Hmm.
at length.
So it should be
Um,
Robert Flory.
Maybe. He later became the publicity director for Douglas Fairbanks, which is kind of how he got this movie made. Douglas Fairbanks, I don't know if he actually paid for it, but he kind of helped a lot of the production along, kind of helped produce it. He like helped him. All the old ends of film stock were taken from a Douglas Fairbanks production. He kind of helped him like get editing bays and stuff to cut the movie on, that sort of thing. So it's not, he wasn't coming at this like as a complete outsider. Like he knew Douglas Fairbanks, who was like the king of Hollywood in the 20s. So
Mhm.
it's like,
And Louis Fayard, the king of France in
yeah,
the tens.
yeah, exactly. But it's
There
still
might have
like,
been an actual king of France in the 1910s.
I think there was. I think we've been focusing so much on like the big important movies of the decade, and so many of those are these like massive productions that cost millions of dollars. And this
Mhm.
is one of the few things that I think we've watched at least recently for the show that is like really really tiny and is made by like a handful of people for very little money. It's just cool to see from this time period because I feel like it's not what I really associate with it, and it's like a kind of a fun artifact of like what else was happening.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk later about another movie that involves the democratization of filmmaking.
Mm.